Hey, readers and writers.
Welcome to episode 104 of Read and Write, where we're going to talk about
Writing routines.
in case
It's almost like a wah wah.
I know. Well, that's how I feel inside. In case we haven't met before, I'm Jocelyn.
I'm Deb, and this is our podcast about what we're reading
What we're writing.
and our writing routines.
Apparently. Or lack thereof. Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell me what's going on? Like, what have you been doing so far this week? Before we jump right into the topic you don't want to talk about.
What have I been doing? Not coming up with a writing routine, that's for sure. It's been.
Oh no. It's going to be that kind of episode.
I know. Yeah, you know how it goes sometimes. It's been a weird week. I mean, I got my second COVID shot and it really knocked me out. Like, I had some pretty extreme reactions. So I've been pretty much just sleeping, watching TV. I'm rewatching Sex and the City of all things, which weirdly I have seen the entire series of Sex and the City multiple times. Not all of those times were on purpose. I don't know. I have a weird relationship with that show, but I find it oddly comforting. And
Gilmore
also,
Girls. That sounds like my version of Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, and Gilmore Girls is also one of those for me. Absolutely. But also, my husband and I have been watching Lucha Underground, which is a professional wrestling promotion that existed from 2014 to 2018. And if you are not familiar with professional wrestling, or you're not like a fan of professional wrestling, I wouldn't really recommend watching Lucha Underground. It's very specific in particular. It's kind of like a lower budget production. So if you're used to the glitz and glamour of WWE, then Lucha Underground is a bit more raw. But it is very interesting because it does.
Sounds like something my husband would watch. Yeah,
I mean, it's fun. You know, I enjoy professional wrestling. I think the storytelling approach in professional wrestling is really interesting. And I personally really like lucha style wrestling. So, you know, that usually has more high flyers and fast movements. So Lucha Underground, obviously, it features lucha wrestling more than other styles. So we've been going through that. My husband got all of the seasons, and which there aren't that many of them, and we've just been kind of going through, and you know, they're chill, you don't have to pay too much attention, and that's pretty much all my like ill vaccine rattled brain can handle at the moment. But I'm finally on the uptick. I've recovered, and I hopefully will be completely COVID immune now, based on the severity of my reaction. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
How about you?
How about my COVID vaccine, or how has my life been?
Same, both, all.
Well, actually, I think we got our second dose on the same day, which is weird considering we live like 400 miles apart or something.
Yeah, I think we did.
I had a really severe first reaction, and then I've just been butt-ass tired ever since.
Yeah.
Like, I can't shake. For a while, it was just like a little headache I just could not get rid of no matter what I did. But that's finally gone away, but I still have the, like, just dragging, like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I feel like I need a nap.
Yeah.
And it's not just because I have a 4 and 5-year-old running around.
That you're used to.
It's like there's something off.
Yes.
And I'm willing to blame the COVID vaccine, although it just could be any number of things. But
yeah.
Super tired. But I have reached sort of a milestone. I'm almost at a third of the way through draft number 2 of one of my novels.
Yay, that's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm like 2,000 words away. I'm basically one scene away from a third of the way through. So one scene away from 30,000 words.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel like the scene is going to be a bitch.
Yes.
It's not one I planned for. It's one, as I was rereading what I had, I'm like, this needs to happen here. Like, this isn't, I did not plan for it. It's not in my outline. But it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And it needs to happen, I think, here before we launch into Act 2. Like, this is the close of Act 1. and I think I need to like squeeze in, like shoehorn in this little scene of just some information that so I don't have to do it later, so it's already established.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of feeling scared of it almost, apprehensive. Like it needs to happen, but I don't have any of my usual guideposts along the way. Like usually I do the outline and then I know where I'm going. And this is just a blank, empty page, and the only thing I know that like the mother's voice needs to be revealed to so the character so that the readers know what the character is hearing. That doesn't make any sense when I say it out loud. If you ever read my book, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But it's just, it does kind of feel like a shoehorn, so I'm apprehensive about it. But it needs to happen, so I'm so close.
That's still
30,000 words.
Very exciting. 30,000 words. That's a feat. Yeah. Congrats.
Thank you.
So do you rely on a writing routine to get to those 30,000 words?
Nice shoehorn segue. Oh my goodness.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Do I have? I guess I have a writing routine. I've developed one over time. Like the one I'm working with now isn't the one I had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 4 years ago. I think I discussed earlier that I like to do it in the morning. Like for some reason that's when I feel the most creative. I can write in the afternoons and the evenings, just it's better in the morning. I don't know how else to describe it. Like the words come more easily. My thoughts are clearer. It's better writing, like it's better ideas.
Yeah.
I sit down, I make sure the desk is clear. There's no toys on it. I have good music playing that I've got no toys, I know. You'd be surprised. One time there was a dirty sock on my desk yesterday.
What a fun surprise.
Yeah. My daughter has a habit of taking off her socks in the middle of the day and then just leaving them around the house.
Wow, I love it.
Randomly 5 dirty socks, and there was one on my chair.
That's some very, like, dominance kind of activity. Yes, my dirty socks.
Yeah, no, just dirty socks. So I gotta make sure it's free from all weird, unwriting paraphernalia. I have to have music going. Like, if it's before the kids wake up, I can actually have music playing, but if the kids are, I don't know, doing their schoolwork or playing in the background, headphones are necessary.
I usually use headphones anyway because that kind of helps me to focus and feel like I'm in my own world.
Like noise canceling, just blocks out life.
Yeah, just like blocks everything else out and allows me to really sink into my story and my characters and such.
Yeah, especially if you're pumping in the music.
Yes.
That you need. Finding the music is hard. Like especially if it's like a new scene and you don't know what kind of music it is. Like I'll spend 45 minutes trying to find the right track. Like just one track that I can listen to on loop.
Yep.
It'll take all of my writing time just finding the one song. So then the next day I'm fine. But
yeah, exactly. You're just setting yourself up for success for the next day.
All right. How about you?
Usually, well, in the past, the morning has also been more successful for me. I feel the same. Yeah, in the past. Well, as I have alluded to very strongly, I don't have a writing routine. I don't think you can
call that alluding to.
You're right. Strong. As I have very blatantly pointed out, I don't have a writing routine right now because I'm kind of just getting back into writing for the first time. Like, I don't know, 7 years? It's been a long time.
Has it really been that long?
Since the last time I wrote seriously was when I was living close to you. So,
oh my God, has it been that long?
Yes, yeah. Like, I really
saying the same thing 2 different times, but meaning it 2 different ways. Dear God, has it been 7 years since we lived close to each other?
I think. I didn't do the math on that. I'm just kind of pulling it out of my brain. But yeah, it's been a long time. There are a lot of reasons for that we will probably touch on, with future episodes. But I'm trying to get back into the groove of writing in general and just getting used to the idea of writing again and writing with a different attitude and a different outlook and a different purpose. And so I'm trying to craft a new writing routine that will work with my current life schedule, which is pretty busy and also not consistent. I am a librarian.
I hear you on the not consistent part.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I can't even imagine, especially with kids. And I'm going to ask you how kids have affected your writing routine. But as a librarian, I have a changing schedule. It's the same, but it's also different. Like it's the same every week, but it's different every day, if that makes sense. Okay. Sometimes I have to open the library. Sometimes I have to stay late. So my days are not structured.
So every Monday's the same, every Tuesday's the same, but yes. Monday's the same as Tuesday.
Exactly. So I have to basically come up with a different routine for every day. So I'm still trying to figure that out. And it's kind of a bummer because like you, I enjoy writing in the morning and most of my days start early with work. So it's difficult. I could try to get up earlier, but I already, on some days, I'm getting up at 5 or 5:30 to go to work.
Oh my God, bless your heart.
Yeah, so it's hard to get up any earlier, and also at that early in the morning, my brain's actually not functioning terribly
that's actually
well.
not good, no.
Yeah, it's too early. But when I was living up in New York still, I did NaNoWriMo for the one and only time that I did NaNoWriMo. And I woke up at 5 o'clock every morning and I wrote for 2 hours before work. And then I went to work at a job I absolutely hated that I had nothing to do at. So I actually just wrote at work as well. And I made it to the 50,000 words or whatever it was that you have to do to like complete NaNoWriMo. I did. I made it that year. And it's the only time I've ever done NaNoWriMo, and I'm scared to try it again because there's no way I'm going to hit 50,000 words in a month.
I've often thought about doing it, and I've tried doing it, but I've never finished it.
Yeah. It was only because
life is too insane.
It's you have to devote a lot of time every day to hit that word count, and just, my life at the time allowed for it for kind of sad reasons. And now my life is more fulfilled.
Yeah, I remember how much you hated that job.
That job was so toxic for me.
That was like soul crushing. I didn't even work it, but it was soul crushing for me.
Yeah, it infected everybody around me, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, my life is busier and in a good way, but also that makes it harder for me to figure out how I can work writing back into my life. So I have to really sit down and be real with myself, draw some boundaries, and set up a schedule that's going to work for me. So, if you have any kind of tips or tricks on how to, play around with a writing schedule, I am all
Someone
ears.
Who writes with a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old in the house, I might have a few.
Okay. Yeah, how is that? What's that like?
That's hard. I say that I like writing in the mornings, but the percentage of the times I actually get to write in the mornings is really low.
Yeah.
Most of my writing is done when I force them to do what we call quiet time, which used to be nap time until they don't do naps anymore. But they go to their separate rooms, they play quietly for an hour, and that's when Mom writes.
That's a great idea. Nice job, working that out. That's genius.
I kind of had to hammer it over their heads for a while and get that to work. Especially just the quiet part of it. They would want to play with each other because they're so close in age. They're 11 months apart, and they don't have any outside friends. We can't let any friends into our lives right now. So they are each other's friends. And they don't like to be apart.
Yeah.
So it's just saying you go back to your room and you stay in your room.
Stop liking each other so much.
Yes, exactly. But no, the percentage that actually get to write in the mornings is really low. I work my best then, but it just doesn't happen that often. I will say that everybody says that you have to write every day, and I kind of feel like that's BS.
Ooh, I like this hot take. Please continue.
Well, I feel like practical life doesn't allow you to write every day. Yeah. I mean, I wish I could write every day, but it doesn't always happen. I mean, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't know how working moms would write
I know.
and do this. I just don't understand it. So I think ideally, yes, it'd be nice if you could get a routine where you wrote every day at a certain time for a certain amount of period, for a certain amount of time, for every like for you, like you said, 5 a.m. for 2 hours
Mhm.
every day. Like that is maybe not the ideal 5 a.m. I mean, that's a
Yes.
little much, but that structure, I think, yeah, it would be ideal. Like if you're like Stephen King and you can afford to do that, then do
Yes.
it. But I think
Yes.
for the average person trying to write in like the little blips of time they have, writing every day is not gonna happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. Find myself just kind of snatching moments here and there. I
Mm-hmm.
use Google Docs for right now. I use Google Docs for all of my writing, my drafting, and such, so I can access it wherever I have an internet connection. So that does allow me to be more flexible. If I have a moment at lunch when I'm at work, I might feel inspired and get a couple hundred words in or something, or maybe in the evenings, I'm feeling like I have the mental bandwidth and I can sit down and write. That doesn't happen very often because I'm usually pretty,
Yeah,
like
by the end of the
dead.
day, you're kind of done. Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah. I'm
think
lucky if
everybody
I
is.
do any yoga or anything. Usually I'm just kind of like sprawled out on my bed reading. But whenever you can get a little writing in, it feels like such a victory. And I do
Mm-hmm.
know, like, I actually asked on Twitter recently. I did ask this question. Because I'm very heavy into the indie horror book community on
Uh-huh.
Twitter.
Creepy pasta.
Um, yeah. I do. I review a lot of indie horror books, and I would like to write indie horror books eventually, or just horror books in general. I love a good indie press, but anyone who wants to publish it, I'm not gonna turn my nose up. But if Tor wants to publish it, anyway, I asked the question, how do you protect your writing time? Because that was what I was having a hard time with. It's the same, but slightly different than having a writing routine. I guess it's the same. If you have a routine, you're protecting your time
Mm-hmm.
and you
Right.
have a set time to write and whatnot, and you're devoting your time and energy to writing in that moment. And pretty much everybody like gave me nice feedback. I was really like happy that folks pitched in their opinions and what worked for them. But 90% of what everyone said was just, you have to do it every day, or you have to do it regularly. It has to be like working out. You have to kind of force yourself to get
Mm-hmm.
into a
You don't want to do
routine.
it, but you have to do it. I understand the
Right.
sentiment.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't
But
think it's
like you
practical.
said, exactly, it can be kind of pie in the sky for a lot of folks. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if you are able to do that, then do it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That is awesome. And maybe I will get to that point. But I have to really sit down and draw some boundaries and figure out what's going on with my life. But not that intense, but just scheduling wise.
Right.
Um, but yeah, otherwise, I feel like anytime you can just and it doesn't even have to be the physical act of writing. If you're just thinking
Thinking
about your
about it.
story, yeah,
Shower
like
time is the best thinking time.
yes, definitely. Oh my God, yes. And maybe if you do exercise, if you're someone who exercises, I like to exercise when I can. And usually in those moments, my brain is pretty clear, kind of like when you're taking a shower. It's that same
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing where like you're doing a physical activity, but you're not really focusing too hard on anything. And
Wow.
that
I want your
offers.
brain. I do cardio like every day, and I can't. No, my brain can't focus on. Like I've tried that. People have said like try and do that.
Oh.
My
Mm-hmm.
brain can't focus on that. My brain is only like, okay, lift your arm, lift the other arm, do this. I'm concentrating on breathing.
Don't die, don't die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's interesting because usually on my runs I will get some great ideas.
Hmm.
It's like
I
it's
say
better for
runs. Yes,
unstructured
runs are
thinking.
different. I could totally see
Yes.
that. But
Yeah.
like I'm doing like aerobic cardio, so it's a lot more
Okay.
like this arm this time, this arm
Yep.
that time, and so
No,
my brain
that
is otherwise
yeah.
occupied.
Yeah, no. Any kind of like aerobics or choreographed movement like that,
Hmm.
no, I wouldn't be able to. But like running or lifting, those usually allow me some space to think or be creative, and usually in very open ways. It's
Uh huh.
maybe not thinking about the particular story I'm working on in the moment, but my brain gets to wander, and so new
Right.
thoughts and new ideas pop in.
I kind of do that like it's probably cliche with the shower thing, but like right before I go to sleep, like I tend to if I need some quiet time, I'll play like a playlist before I actually play like my white noise because I sleep with white noise.
Yeah.
But and that just kind of like you said, like open creative time. It just lets my brain's kind of like loose.
Yes.
And sometimes it makes connections I wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm old school. I carry around a notebook and a pen.
Yes. Definitely. Have to.
Like,
that's like a must.
Dropping the kids off to preschool when they went to preschool. Like 5 minutes when I got there, like 2 minutes early, like, okay, whip out the notebook. What was I thinking about?
Yes. Yeah. Do you ever do that like in the morning with your dreams? Do you write your dreams down at all? Or do you get inspired by your dreams? Ever?
I do get inspired by my dreams. And if it is that level of inspiration, I take out one of my Plot Bunny books and write it down.
Nice.
But it doesn't usually apply to what I'm currently writing. So something I actually, I think I was watching somebody on YouTube, like, it might have been like their writing routine or something similar to it. I don't think it was exactly what they called it, but and they were mentioning how they shut down their desktop. Not like they're writing on it, but like they maximize and they use, I think it was an inbuilt Mac function where you could basically block out other apps.
Okay.
I remember trying that and failing and just not getting to work because that's my biggest problem is when I'm writing and I'm like, ooh, I remember that thing I need to move on Amazon, and then quick go over there and then just get lost in a black hole.
Yep.
So, but I found this app called Flow.
Okay.
I think it's just Flow, like how you would regularly spell it. I'm using Mac, so it's definitely on a Mac, but I don't know if they're on Android as well, or I guess Windows if you're writing on a PC. Why would you be writing on Android? Who writes on their phones? I don't know.
Don't. Yeah, people do.
I'm sure they
get
do.
That notes app out.
True, but what Flow does, it allows me to it's more for working, like in a work environment. It gives you, the default is 25 minutes of working and then 5 minute break.
Oh, that's a good chunk of time. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but what they also allow you, the app allows me to block out other apps. So I can say, I'm not allowed to look at Chrome when I have this timer on.
Okay.
Or I'm not allowed to look at the email app while I have the timer on. So that's 25 minutes where, yeah, I mean, the kids could interrupt me, but and it stays up like in my little taskbar. It says like, it gives me the countdown. So I know for 25 minutes, it's basically 25 minutes I have more or less uninterrupted, that I'm not getting distracted by myself, I guess is what I'm saying.
I've heard other people say they like turn off their Wi-Fi so they can't go online or get messages or whatever.
That might be a bit drastic for me, but yeah.
Yeah,
I appreciate
Flow app
idea.
Yeah, this sounds great because I definitely get distracted as well. I usually have to hide my phone if I really want to focus and on anything. Like if I want to sit down and like really focus on something I'm doing for work, or if I'm reading or, writing, I usually have to put my phone in a drawer and shut the drawer. I can't see it anywhere. Okay. Or else I will just get that impulse to pick it up.
I do find like sometimes like actually I think I was doing something and you texted me earlier today. And I was like, oh, and then I wonder what the news is. Like I didn't even think about it. That's just an automatic thing. So I caught myself like, oh no, and I put it down.
Yep.
And I don't think I replied to you, but
that's fine.
But yeah, I like this app because it gives you 25 minutes, and then it has another timer for like 5 minutes. Like you said, it's assuming you're like in a work office environment, and the science behind it is like saying that your brain needs little breaks in order to stay focused. So it has like a little 5 minute break. I never use the 5 minute break. Basically, I do 25 minutes, and then I do something else, like I'll get water for the kids, or just kind of do what I need, and then next time I sit down to write, again, it's another 25 minutes.
I see. Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna give that a try.
I found keeping a Post-it note. I allow myself one Post-it note, but to write down things that pop in my head, like, oh, I need to get more laundry detergent. Just weird things like that pop in your head.
Yeah, so you can just take it out of your brain and
put
set
it down.
aside.
And then when my 25 minutes are up, then I do that.
Yes. Oh, that's great. That's a really good idea. Those are good tips.
So far, it's helped me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see how this will unfold for me as I get back into writing. I have such a different relationship with it now, and my life is so different from what it was last time I was heavily writing. So this is, it's almost like starting again just starting for the first time, like
right.
I'm almost starting from scratch. So it'll be interesting to explore and see what will work for me, and maybe something will surprise me. Maybe I will start being more interested in writing in the evenings, although I highly doubt that will happen. But maybe I'll be able to like carve out time in the mornings again.
I don't know. The evenings are tough. I don't know about you, but I mean, I probably could write in the evenings. It's probably be more difficult, but that's also the only time I have in the day with my husband.
Right, exactly.
So even if we're sitting silently side by side on the couch, and I've tried writing next to him, but like the elbow room doesn't quite work out. I have to be at my desk really to write, which is in the same room, but it's different. Like I choose to sacrifice that time so I'm at least near him and can converse with him.
Right.
Because otherwise, even though we're living in the same house in the same bubble, we don't see that much of each other.
No, yeah, you really don't. And even with being home for the past year and a half, I mean, my husband and I will be in the same house all day, but we might see each other like 3 times because he'll be on the 3rd floor and I'll be on the 1st floor, and like we'll only glimpse each other when like he comes down to get water or whatever,
Yeah. Or I make mine come down for lunch. We have family lunch, but
oh, that's nice.
That's basically the only time we have. We don't do dinner. We're weird. Our big meal of the day is lunchtime, and dinner's like a weird like sandwich or leftovers. Like we kind of just all just like do our kind of own thing.
I kind of like that.
It works for us.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's gonna work when my oldest goes to kindergarten, but but yeah, we're on basically the same floor. My house is kind of weird. But we'll call it the 1st floor.
Yeah, your house is kind of an interesting construction.
Yeah, it's like, I'll say I'm on floor 1. He might be on floor 1.5. Not quite 2, but 1.5. Yes. But we're on the opposite ends of the house. And then you got the kids running around, and he's really busy at work. Like, he's so loud, I can be at one end of the house and hear his entire conversation. But he's basically on phone /Zoom / video calls like all day.
Oh,
so
Lord.
we don't see each other. We hear each other.
Yeah.
But we don't see each other. So I voluntarily say, okay, yes, I could be writing, but I'm choosing to have a relationship with my husband instead.
Yeah, and that's
even though writing is what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of those things that. It's balance. Life is, that's it. Life is all about all these balances and these choices that we have to make. And it's wonderful to say that you can sit down and write every day. It's wonderful to say that, you have to follow such and such rules in order to be a successful writer. But when it comes down to it, I agree with you, Deb. I think it's a little bit of BS.
Well, I like the habit forming of writing every day. I think that's good advice, and I think in an ideal world it's great, but I don't get the time to write every day. I mean, even though I'm home and I might be in the same room as my desk, I do not have the time to do that.
Since I have started writing again, which was in March of 2021, and I will just say, I'm not sure when this episode will come out, but we are recording on May 11th, 2021. I have only been able to sit down and write 3 times in that over a month expanse.
Yeah.
Almost 2 months at this point, actually. So it's, I really
it's hard.
want to, and it sucks.
It's finding the time to do it.
Exactly. I'm just like itching to sit down and write. I'm so excited to sit down and write. And then I can't for one reason or another. So it's all about just like getting there and figuring out what works for you, really. And it's interesting.
Oh, go ahead. I can continue. Oh, I was going to say, before the pandemic, I had this goal of I was writing at least 1,000 words a day.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was because I had my 2 toddlers. They were like in preschool and alternate classes. So I basically I had like, I don't know, like half an hour, 45 minutes to myself every day, which
Mm-hmm.
right now seems like such a luxury.
Yes.
But their preschool was next to the library. So I would
Okay.
drop them off at preschool, and I would, instead of going all the way home, I would just go to the library and I would write at the library.
Oh, that sounds great.
I know. I can miss it now. Like, I was
Yeah.
really looking forward to this year because they would both be in class at the same time, like
Ah.
4 days a week, and I would have an hour and a half to myself every
Mm-hmm.
goddamn day. And we see where that ended up.
Uh-huh.
I don't have five. I can't even go to the bathroom without a
Yeah.
kid or a dog coming in to see what the hell I'm doing.
Oh no.
45 minutes right now seems like such a damn luxury. I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one day I have faith you'll get back to it. You'll get it
I
back.
miss my library visits.
Yeah, we all
Just,
do,
just sit in
The
the back
library's
and like
indispensable.
you find that little weird desk in the back
Yes.
next to the autobiographies that nobody reads.
Yes. Yes.
And it's so quiet and it smells like a library and you just sit
Oh.
there in that little cubby and you write. It's
Mm.
wonderful.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And that wasn't even my routine, but hearing you describe it, it's like all of these things that make me feel happy and warm. So I'm just gonna live
The key
vicariously
is
through your
finding that
memory.
weird little desk. And
Yes. Oh,
somewhere in the back
absolutely.
corner where nobody goes a lot, finding
Mm-hmm.
that weird desk from like the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
It's nice and smooth and it's quiet and it smells like
Mm.
old books and
Yes.
oh, just saying it out loud makes me
I
miss it.
know. Oh, damn you, COVID.
Actually, what I wish I could do is somehow magically take the library from my childhood and bring it up here.
Oh, that's
Like
such a strong feeling that you're invoking right now. Childhood library
well,
memories are so powerful.
my childhood library was so far the awesomest library I think I've ever been in. It was
Mm.
small. I mean, that was the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was small, but it was like
Yeah.
old, like 1800s old, like had all
Yeah.
this awesome tile floors and like old
Oh.
wood. And to get to like the second story of the nonfiction section, you had to climb a ladder.
Oh, I love
This
this.
little metal ladder, and it was the best. I would just
Oh.
like my mom and my brother would be going to get books and I would just like creep away and like go into
Mm-hmm.
they had like this little tiny desk wedged into a corner.
Another desk in a corner.
I know, it's that's the key. You gotta find the little weird desk back in the back where
Mm-hmm.
nobody goes. That's
Yep.
what you have. That's my favorite spot in a library. Like if you're ever in a
Yes.
library with me, that's where I am. You
Oh,
find the little weird desk in the corner and that's where I am.
it's the perfect place.
It really is.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's a reason I became a librarian, and
Mm,
most of that reason is so I could be in a library every day.
that would be awesome.
It is. It really is.
My poor library. I miss it. I forgot what we
Mm.
were talking about before we got talking about libraries and
I know, libraries just suck all the air out of the room because once you start talking about them, you're just so enchanted by how amazing they are. You
Mhm.
can't even think about anything else.
yeah. Man, my childhood
Well,
library, that was amazing. I can't had like four huge stone pillars, like this
mm.
Native American arrowhead museum in the top floor.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know.
I love that. I wish I had something like that in my childhood library. Mine was also very, very small because I grew up in a very tiny town in upstate New York. And my mom actually worked in our public library. She was a children's librarian. So I spent a lot of time there. And it was old
Sounds
as well.
amazing.
Yeah, it was really comfortable. It has these, well, it still does. It's still existing. It has these giant windows that feel very like 1800s, and you could go. It's a small building, but you basically, to find that alone space, you would just walk to the very back of the building where the formal stacks are, which there aren't many, but you could find like a little nook to hide away in back there. And it was very, it's quiet. Libraries usually are quiet just because the books kind of deaden the noise. And it has
Mhm.
that smell, and it's warm and inviting, but also like a little bit creepy, which I
Yep.
always love. Mm-hmm.
My childhood library definitely had that. the second floor I'm talking about actually was a metal grated floor, like
okay, yeah.
swirly, old fashioned, like Edwardian metal kind of. I don't know how else to describe it.
That's amazing.
So like if you were wearing a skirt, someone could look up and look under your skirt.
Mm-hmm.
But it had that sound walking on, and then you found this little desk, and actually that's where like the adult science fiction was. Which I don't know why nobody went back there. It was like old 70s science fiction, but I would just sit there and read.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds magical.
It was. And my mom wanted me to take out Nancy Drew Mysteries. I'm like, no. I like this copy of Dune. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, I'm very impressed that you were reading Dune as a child. I could barely get through it as an adult.
I have the most awesome copy of Dune. Like, it's like a 1960-something tiny little leather-bound green thing. It's amazing. Yes.
That's pretty rad. Sounds like it's enchanted.
A worm ate through it, partially.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's several holes. There's like several pages in a row that had like this perfect little circle hole through it.
Oh my god, that is wild. I've never seen that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Next time, if you ever come back up to my house, I will show it to you.
Yes, I would love to see it. That sounds really cool, actually.
my Dune copy that has a wormhole in it.
It's very appropriate.
I know, wormhole, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I mean, I think as people can hear, I desperately could use some tips and tricks as I start this new journey with coming up with a writing routine. So if you have any that work for you, I mean, as we've talked about, not everything works for everybody, but if anyone does have any tips they want to share, I would love to hear them and maybe try them out, and maybe they'll work for me too.
Jocelyn needs your help.
Yeah, I need the help, all the help.
I feel like I need help too, but not as much as you do. I just need help with finding like a babysitter.
Yes. Well, that can be done.
Well, not right now.
No. You need help with getting the pandemic banished is what you need help with.
All right, so let's move on to our recommendations for this week. You want to go first?
Sure. So I have been really enjoying the Veronica Speedwell series by Deanna Raybourn. Have you heard of these, Deb?
No, I haven't.
I love this series. I started reading them a couple years ago. I think there are 5 or 6 books out now, and I've read the first 3. I'm kind of trying to take my time because I love them so much, so I'm trying to savor them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know how that goes.
I understand that feeling, yes.
Yeah. But they're just such a delight. Anytime I'm feeling a little down or if I'm in a reading slump, I will go to one of those books because they are a guaranteed winner for me. It is a not quite cozy mystery series. It's got a little bit more bite than cozies do, but it takes place in Victorian England. The main character's name is Veronica Speedwell, and she is a lepidopterist. I hope I said that right. She studies butterflies, and so cool. she's a lady scientist in Victorian England. Is this one of these
Victorian supernatural ones, or just a Victorian mystery?
Just mystery.
Okay.
I know
that was popular a couple of years ago, where it's feeling like everybody was writing those.
Yes, and those are fun. But this one, some of the mysteries might suggest paranormal dealings, but they all end up being kind of like Scooby-Doo-esque, where there's an actual person behind what's going on. But Veronica ends up teamed up with this very dark, handsome, brooding man named Stoker, who's also a scientist and an adventurer and a kind of an angry nobleman. Like, he is of noble blood, but he's mad about it. Like, he hates his family, he hates nobility, he hates having to conform to any kind of social structure, and he's just pleasantly grouchy all the time.
Pleasantly grouchy.
Yeah. Like, he's very you become endeared to him. Is he pleasant
while being grouchy, or do you find is he like the mashed potatoes of grouchy? Like, you find it pleasant?
He's the mashed potatoes of grouchy. Okay. He's charmingly grouchy. Okay. You know what I mean? Like
a little Mr. Darcy.
Yeah, little Darcy-esque, definitely. And Veronica is a very free-willed, free-spirited woman, especially for the times, and she's brilliant. And they team up really well to solve these
Okay.
mysteries. And there's an interesting connection to the royal family, which is a bit of a spoiler, so I'm not going to go into that. But there is this like low simmering sexual tension between Veronica and Stoker, which is just so delightful to
Right, especially
follow.
since it's like Victorian England.
Oh, Veronica's a hoe. Like she loves a conquest. And that's
Okay.
like a big part of her personality, which is super fun to explore. So like that's just enjoyable, kind of on the same level as like Mulder and Scully in X-Files. Like will they, won't they, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
lingering touches, that sort of thing. So I really, really
Oh man,
enjoy
the
this
X-Files.
series. And I recommend it to anybody who likes historical fiction or mysteries or just like, kind of a light romance or just like a really witty, sharp, strong female lead and just like a fun romp,
It sounds like
like
comfort food book again.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my recommendation. How
Okay.
about you?
Well, actually, now I'm considering changing my recommendation. Now, I'm gonna go with my original one. My recommendation is The Unlikely Ones by Mary Brown.
Ooh, I have not heard of this. I'll have to write it
This
down.
is I want to say childhood favorite, but really, I probably didn't find this book till I was maybe 15. I've read it a million times. I have more than one copy.
Wow.
Um, and I only discovered, I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago, it was a trilogy, and I didn't know it. And this was the first book in the trilogy.
Ooh. Oh.
That's always exciting. Although
Yeah.
this is the best book out of them. I mean, after this, it kind of takes a story shift that felt weird to me. Probably just because I had read this for like 15, 20 years before I
Yeah.
found out there was more of them. That's always a weird experience. Um, I did that with a Ender's Game. I know we talked about last episode how that was my like
Hmm.
favorite childhood book.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were more books to that series,
Oh.
and I read them in my early 20s, and it just felt so weird. It's like this
Yeah.
this character I identified with so much had changed and was suddenly like an old man. I didn't identify with him anymore. But I
Yeah.
feel kind of the same way with this story, that it was something I read over and over and over again, and I really identified, like personally identified with the main character, who was I guess probably I shouldn't have identified with her quite so well if I was like 15 when I found it, but she's like a child,
Hmm.
the main character. It was weird experiencing uh more books that didn't include this character but sort of like continued the story. It's like the characters from the first
Hmm.
book do not appear in the second and third books,
Oh, interesting.
but the story is somehow still carried through. um Anyways, it's a fantasy book. It's about misfits. Like I said, the main character is a young girl, and her best friends are a toad, a fish, a bird, and a cat. And they
This
all have,
sounds delightful.
and they speak to each other, like they can talk, and nobody else can
Oh.
like understand what they're saying. And they each have a jewel on them somewhere, and they are the property slaves of a witch. And the witch is apparently the one that put the jewels in them. And the story, I'm not giving anything away. This is like the first 5 pages of the novel. And the story is them getting away from the witch and discovering who they were, because they have no memory of their past. They don't know where they come from. A rusty knight is kind of like, he leads them around and helps them and takes them to the sage who's going to tell them what happened to them, and
Mm.
they have to get the jewels out and figure out who they
Hmm.
are. It's a story of self-discovery, and it's really
Hmm.
well done. Especially, it's just, some of it's told from the Rusty Knight's standpoint, but that's only a couple
Hmm.
chapters. It's mostly from the girl's standpoint of view, and they find a unicorn during the course of the book, by the way.
Oh,
Again,
well.
not giving anything away because it's on the cover. Um, but it was a really well crafted story. Like, it sounds like a children's book, but it's definitely not a children's book. There are
Yeah.
some
Hmm.
very adult portions of this book. Um, it really really well written, and you get sucked into it. You become part of this world. You're watching this crazy band of characters discover who they are. I
That sounds like
highly recommend
something
it.
That sounds like something I would have really loved in middle school and even high school. And I think I would still enjoy it now. But I feel like if I had read that in middle school, that would have been like peak perfect time for me to read it. And I would have loved it as much as you love it too.
Possibly. Like that's about the time I found it, probably. Maybe 15 was a little old, but yeah, probably definitely around then.
Yeah. Like, yeah, even 15 would have been like right
early
on the mark
teenage
for me,
years was when I found it, and I read the crap out of this book over and over again. Like, I have more than one copy. I mean, it's just I still read it and I still enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll have to pick it up because
and
I
it's
think
satisfyingly
I would
thick.
Still like it.
Like sometimes those books there isn't a lot to them, but this is a satisfyingly thick story. Like the book is like a good inch and a half thick.
So you can just like sink right in and enjoy your stay.
It's good. It's a comfort food book for me, definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome.
I'm actually going to make 2 recommendations because I am going to go back.
Go for it.
You wanted me to... I felt like I had to change my recommendation based on what you said because it reminded me of another book. I don't remember the author. I will put it in the show notes. But the book is The Crimson Petal and the White.
Ooh, this actually sounds familiar. Go on. I feel like I've heard of this.
This book is an adult book. It is no way a children's book. It's about Victorian England, and it basically follows around the life of a prostitute.
Ooh, I like it.
It's written by a man, but it has the most realistic description of a woman post-sex that I have ever read anywhere else.
Wow, that's impressive. That is a feat.
Like, yeah. I read a paragraph. I'm not going to get graphic, but I'm sure you'll find it in the book if you choose to read. It's a very large book, by the way. It's an undertaking to read. It's probably 3 inches thick. I mean, it's a big book. Very enjoyable, but it's a hunker down and read it book. Mm-hmm. It's going to take you a long time to read it. Yeah. Maybe not you, but a normal person. Oh, no,
I am a slow reader. I am absolutely a slow reader, unfortunately.
But it's really good. It's, like I said, it follows around basically this prostitute, and it's around the Jack Ripper time.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But it has... I would say he's trans and he was a woman and experienced this, or he has done a lot of research and interviews. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, even other ones written by women, the most realistic description of a woman post-sex that I have ever read.
I'm going to have to pick this up just to satisfy my curiosity about this, because I am very interested to see... how this works.
I keep going back to it. I mean, that is not the sum of the book. I mean, there's more to it. It follows around her relationships. You go through the day. You see who is developing attachments to her, and then their lives. Everything's like entwined. It's a very good piece of fiction. I would say it's not my usual fantasy or science fiction. It is just fiction, historical fiction, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I keep coming back to it because it struck me as such a whoa. I have never read anyone get that right. Yeah.
I don't feel like I really have either. I think maybe, weirdly enough, I think in a couple horror books and stories I have read have gotten close, especially those written by women. Those usually are pretty good. But I am very intrigued.
Okay. I think you should check it out if it kind of fits with your recommendation a little bit, only just because they're just both Victorian England, but that's
they could be companion pieces.
They could,
you can read this really.
You could read the romance, and then you could read the reality.
Exactly. It'll be great.
Okay, so I think that's it for this week. We've mentioned a few things. We'll put everything in the show notes. I'll put the app in I was talking about and our recommendations. And you can find that on our website as usual at readandwritepodcast.com. Or drop us a line on any of the social media under the same name. Let Jocelyn know if you have any help. Us. Yeah, Jocelyn needs help.
Yes.
Please help her
with
ideas.
Save me.
So catch us next week when we're going to talk about
tackling writer's block.
I feel like everybody needs to know that.
Yes, everybody suffers, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the hard thing, is trying to get through it.
Yes.
So anyways, until then, stay safe.
Keep reading.
Keep writing.
And go do what you do best. Have a good night, Deb.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.